Hey, everybody. Thank you for checking out another episode of Raised on the Radio. Number 49, that is, actually. I am one half of the show. I am Cole Brocato, my good friend Patrick Blair in Zoomland, as usual. And I'm pretty pumped for this episode today. We will have a special guest here in about a half an hour or so, possibly an up-and-coming, rising, undefeated star in the UFC. Possibly.
Well, he is up and coming. He is rising, and he is undefeated. So I don't know what's possible about all that, and he is all of those things. We'll be talking to him in a bit. Happy New Year.
Yep. Absolutely, dude.
2020 is fucking over.
It is.
Are you excited about this or what?
Well, I want to ask you about your thoughts on like this whole New Year thing. Like, is it that big of a deal to you? Like that it's a new year? Like, do you look at it as there's so many possibilities that it's a new year, or is it just like that year is over with? Now we can make this better somehow.
There's a new number that I need to remember when I fill out dates on things. That's it. And I know for the first couple weeks I'm going to forget.
Yeah, I'd say it's going to take at least a month to remember that.
I don't really subscribe to it's a new year, new possibilities. Like, I'm all about being positive, and believe me.
I don't know if that's true. That may be a lie.
Yeah. I don't necessarily subscribe to that, because I was trying to be positive throughout a shitty year anyway,
True. Yeah.
So that shitty year is just carried over. Nothing's changed yet.
Right.
But we're only 3 days in. So, I'm in a different position though. Like 2020 for me, honestly, was pretty cool. Have a new addition to my family. You know what I mean? Like,
you got to stay home with him most of the year.
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, whatever. It's a number to me right now, which is fine. But I get why people. Dude, look, I get why people are hopeful that just because there's a new number, everything's going to magically just turn to sunshine and roses again. But
right,
not going to happen.
I don't know, maybe.
I mean, do you get optimistic about the year changing, or are you just this like me? This is just whatever.
It's a little different this year just because for most people, 2020 was really shitty. So the fact that a new year could bring new possibilities, I guess, is a little greater for me this year. But overall, it's not that big of a deal. To me, it's kind of like the whole I'll do it Monday, or I'll start at the gym Monday, or I'll start eating healthy Monday. Same concept. It's like I'll start at the beginning of 2021 because it's a new year. You're probably not going to. Things are probably going to stay the same way they were. You're just hoping that they will do them it'll do it on its own because it's a new year.
You know what I'm not looking forward to, or all those New Year's resolution, I got to shed the winter pounds people at the gym who are going to take up all the space, along with all the other shitheads that I've talked about for the first this year.
You already hate your gym, so
I'm going to hate it even more. I know it. I haven't gone yet. I worked out at home yesterday, and on the 1st, I didn't do anything. I took the day off. But
I have to imagine that it's a lot worse in a bigger chain gym too, like you're in.
100%, because it's full of the people that are like, oh, $20 a month? Yeah, let's do it. 2021 is going to be my year. You're going to be walking at a 2 for 15 minutes. They're going to break a little sweat. And they're going to go lie around by like the ab machine and that stupid leg machine. What is it? A quad machine where you kick your leg out? I love when I see people on that, or when I see guys on the Thigh Master type machine.
Oh
I'm like, bro, you do not need to be on that, sir. Are you going to be giving birth anytime soon? Go do something else. Well, whatever. Yeah, at least you're in the gym. Who knows? You know what didn't make me hopeful for this year? Is that bullshit Netflix show you had me watch.
That actually should have made you hopeful. Because it was death to 2020. It was basically all the bad shit that happened in 2020. So it should give you hope for the new year.
It didn't.
No.
No. What it did make me hope for is that the people that made that film get hit by a meteorite because it pissed me off. Here's
Let me ask you: Have we ever talked about Black Mirror before?
who?
The show on Netflix, Black Mirror. Have you ever
Oh,
seen it?
I thought you said Black Beer, and I thought you were talking
No.
about Black Bear, the musical artist. No, I have not. Not my thing.
Okay.
Not my thing.
Okay. Well, it's
I've,
the
I've
this.
I've peeked at like 5 minutes of it, and I knew that it
Okay.
wasn't, so I have not watched it.
Okay. I only asked because this Death to 2020 was from the creators of Black Mirror.
Of course it was. Now it makes sense.
Let me guess. Not your thing.
Not my thing. Well, dude, here's what bothered me about it. First of all, it was a propaganda piece. Whether they want to admit that or not, it was. Now, when it started, I felt like the views. Let me back up. If you're going to have Samuel L. Jackson and Leslie Jones and these other people, let's just focus on those two to start. If you're going to have Samuel L. Jackson and Leslie Jones basically come onto this program and give their own opinions, why not just have them represent themselves instead of giving them fake character names and fake identities?
That was kind of odd. I wasn't. I didn't understand that. Like at first, I thought with that they were actually trying to portray a real person. Like I thought the name was actually someone.
Oh, I didn't think that.
But well, at first that's what I thought, and then once I started actually get 10, 15 minutes into it, I'm like, this is kind of odd because they're given someone else to be who's fake, but they're giving their own opinions, or is it their own opinions? That's the other question too. Is like, is it? I don't know.
I think they are. So this was my perception to start. So when it started, I texted you immediately. I was like, I'm 5 minutes in and I'm already pissed off because they've given Samuel and Leslie Jones these fake characters and these fake identities. And they started giving their opinions on things. Now, the first, I'll give them more credit than they deserve. The first half of it, I felt like everyone was kind of down the middle. No one leaning too far left, no one leaning too far right. Oh, and then they started talking about George Floyd. And boy, did Samuel L. turn into Samuel L. real fast, and boy, did Leslie Jones turn into Leslie Jones real fast. No one is going to convince me that those weren't just their opinions on this issue.
I get it.
So my question is, why not just fucking stop being cowards and say, I want to be in it. I'm going to treat it like a fucking documentary. I'm going to give you my opinions while being funny in some parts. Instead, they hide behind these fake identities and these fake characters for people to go, well, maybe they really don't feel that way. Dude, as soon as Samuel L. Jackson started talking about George Floyd and he started spouting off real facts, by the way, a lot of the stuff that they talked about in this thing was factual, and then there were some things that were exaggerated for humor. But when he started talking about real numbers, about how long it took the police to show up when the police were called on George Floyd with his counterfeit 20, and how long it took the police to get arrested after the fact and all this, I'm like, okay, this just got real. So how are we going to spend 35 minutes being a parody type program, and now things are getting real? It just was very cowardly of me, or of them, and it just made me appreciate it less. But that's the other thing. So the old British guy was played by Hugh Grant. Now, why didn't you just have Hugh Grant and just make up some fake name for him as well? No, we doctored him up. We put makeup on him. We gave him fake hair. Gave him everything except changing his fucking blue eyes. And it took me 15 minutes. I look over at my wife and go, is that fucking Hugh Grant? She goes, yeah, dummy. I was like, well, excuse me. He looks like an 80-year-old man. What am I supposed to do? Like, that's movie magic, I guess. So why not just, I don't know. The whole thing pissed me off because it was just propaganda that started in the middle, and then it was very left-leaning by the time it ended. And it just, whatever. Like, we need more propaganda. Like, we need more left versus right bullshit in 2021. I guess that's my whole thing, as to why I didn't like it. It started in the middle, and it turned into the left complaining about the right. That's what it was to me.
So if it would have stayed in the middle somehow throughout the movie, then you would have been more okay with it.
I would have been, yeah, whatever. It would have been, I still would have disliked the idea that we have two recognizable faces playing characters in this thing. You know, I don't. It just struck me as odd. And I think like toward the end, they tried to kind of reel it back in when they started talking about Biden winning the election. They started to goof on Biden a little bit as to kind of fool us into thinking, hey, we're not liberal. This isn't a liberal propaganda piece. Like we're making fun of old Joe. Like no. Everyone's making fun of old Joe because he's 1,000 years old. It's pretty easy to make fun of, you know. It just whatever.
Is that it? Is that all you got?
Like, but that's been my reaction to this, the tail end of the year anyway, when you're going through the election and going, left versus right. It's gross to me. So my reaction to most of the time is going to be whatever, because I'm on neither side. I'm not.
So what made you intrigued enough to finish it?
Because you told me to watch it.
Wow. I didn't know I had that much authority.
I wanted to have something to talk about today. I mean, I could tell you how I binged the entire third season of Cobra Kai yesterday too, but you probably haven't watched it. Yeah.
I have not watched an episode.
Oh man, I love it so much.
I've heard a lot of good things about it.
Well, look, my wife thinks I'm a nerd because of it, and I'll take that. Which, by the way, did you see my Instagram story? Like, I don't know, a couple days ago, whenever it was before the new year actually happened, but Sling gives you your year in review. So my top 3 programs on Sling for the year: Sports Center, Saved by the Bell, and Sports Center Special. And so I posted a story on my Instagram. I'm an asshole. That's all I put with a picture of my top 3. So as you could probably imagine, if Saved by the Bell is one of my most watched shows as a grown man with a child, I'm probably going to like the show Cobra Kai, which I do. I love it. I fucking love it. But it's targeting me because I grew up on the Karate Kid. The first one, I mean, when the first Karate Kid came out, I was a baby. I think. Yeah, I was a baby. But once I was a small child, it was still a relevant thing that had happened. So I watched them, and I grew up on the Karate Kid. So like that show is targeting me, and then I think what they're trying to do is get young kids to like it as well, because it's not just about all of the old characters. They introduce these new characters, which are kids now, teenagers. So they try to make it sort of relevant to young adolescents and teenagers today, which they have to. Otherwise, I'm the only demographic. The only people who know what the hell's going on are people that have seen the Karate Kid movies. You know what I mean? But
do you think the new Karate Kid did the same thing?
The new one.
Well, new. I mean new as in not old. I guess who did the last Karate Kid? Was that what's his name?
You talking about the one with Will Smith's kid?
Yeah, I guess.
I didn't watch that. That's shitting on my childhood. I don't appreciate that. It's like redoing Back to the Future and having like, I don't know a kid star today, but putting whatever bullshit kid star as Marty McFly. Don't do that. I think I just gave someone in Hollywood a bad idea, and it's probably going to happen now. But
yeah, it'll probably be. There'll be promo for it tomorrow. I'm sure we'll see.
I've heard that they want to remake Back to the Future, which it's bad enough they made 2 and 3. We don't need a remake in 2021. Please don't do that, Hollywood. Please. You shit on my childhood enough as it is. But Cobra Kai is not. It's just fun. It's just nostalgia for someone like me who grew up on the movies, and
Why can't they do that with other shows? Why does anything else have to be shitting on your childhood, but this one's fun and it's okay?
Because they used all of the original characters. They're bringing back a lot of the original characters. Like this season, they brought back. I mean, they really have dug deep, and they've brought back people where you're like, wow. A, didn't know that person was still alive. B, look at them go. Like, but now they're old as shit.
Look at them go.
But yeah, it's interesting too, because the 2 stars who are adults, so Ralph Macchio and William Zabka, who plays, in my opinion, who the show was made. He's like the new Mr. Miyagi. Okay, if you even know what I'm talking about. Have you seen?
I do,
Karate Kid?
Yeah, but I'm curious about Ralph Macchio. Has he had like a legit acting career since
Since
that or
Connecticut.
no? Yeah.
I mean, he was in My Cousin Vinny, which
Okay.
uh, after that it gets a little bit foggy. I mean,
Well, that's the reason why I ask is because they brought him back. Like, does it look like he never lost a step, or has? I mean, can you tell?
these are 50-year-old men, dude. Yeah, they've
I
lost,
know. Okay.
but they look good for their ages. And then they've brought
Okay.
back some of these other characters, and boy, do they look rough, man. So yeah, he's lost a step, but they really are in some scenes still doing karate. And I'll say this: it doesn't look terrible. It doesn't look
Okay.
terrible. So what can you do? It's just it's like, again, for me, it's just a very entertaining show. Nostalgia. So I binge watched that before your bullshit Death 2020 fucking thing pissed me off.
So okay, so you said you watch Sling a lot. Is that just because of like 'cause you can get Sports Center on other platforms, right?
I guess.
Is there anything specifically on Sling that you have Sling for? It's just not. Don't think it's more common
Isn't it? I have
thing
no
to
idea.
have, right?
I mean, it's pretty cheap, and I mean, I got it for ESPN and
Okay.
ESPN 2, 3 Classic,
Ocho.
ESPN 8, the Ocho. I mean, it's really, yeah. But the only reason that Saved by the Bell is one of my top watched programs on Sling is because IFC, like every other morning, plays like 8 episodes in a row. So I had to put it on for my son to make sure that he liked it. And sure enough, I have video of him laughing away at Saved by the Bell. And my wife was like, "You got to be kidding me." Because she absolutely hates it. Whatever. I'm a nerd. It's fine.
So do you legit like the storylines and everything in it still, or is it more of a nostalgia thing?
Okay. Like, do you really think I legitimately think like Screech having a pet robot that helps him? No. That helps him win a beauty contest that's only meant for girls. Do I like that storyline? No. It's nostalgia.
I'm not gonna lie, it kind of upsets me that you have that you know all of that.
Screech's robot, Kevin. I
Mhm.
know all this stuff.
Man, talk about a guy who's fallen down a hill in his life.
Is he in jail?
The
Dustin?
last time I checked, but I don't know. Didn't he do porn for a little while?
I think he made porn,
Okay.
and it
And I
was
think
super cringe. I remember like maybe like Howard Stern or one of these radio shows played like clips of it, and he was talking about his Saved by the Bell castmates in the porn.
whoa.
I bet you Zach's never fucked like this before, like something like that.
Oh
Like
my God.
it just made me. It was like, how do you? Like, I know it's like what I'm about to say sounds funny, but how do you cringe at a porn? Like, you go into a porn knowing that it's cringeworthy. That's why it's porn. You know what I mean? So like, you shouldn't be so shocked when watching a porn that you could be so cringed. You know what I mean? By something happening in it. He did it though. Good for you, Dustin Diamond.
No. Well, I think didn't I hear a story about him like pulling a knife out in a club or something like that?
I don't know.
I think that was one of the times he went to jail, maybe. I don't remember for
You
sure. I
strike
might
me
have
as
made that
someone
up.
though. You strike me as someone though who would be a fan of his stand-up comedy. Like if he were
Well,
playing William next week, I feel like you would go.
is that an insult?
I don't know.
I'm
Read
thinking that's
between the
an
lines
insult
for
and
once.
I don't appreciate it.
Well, all right. You know what? I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and say no, you wouldn't do that.
Good. All right, appreciate it.
What was that show? He was on a reality show where you had to lose weight.
Like the biggest no, not like the biggest loser?
Celebrity Fit Club.
I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Oh, dude, it was reality television gold. So his season. So basically, they have these celebrities on who are need to lose weight. So they have like some sort of like army general who like does physical training with them. Then they have a nutritionist and a therapist, and they're like the panel, you know. And they sit there and sort of evaluate their progress and where they're at mentally and physically and all this stuff, right? So Screech in his season gets into it all the time with this military guy, challenges him to a fight. And I think for real, like everyone was sort of like, damn, if he gets away from people holding him back right now, we might see a celebrity murdered live on television. Like it could happen. But his season was so good. Warren G was on his season, and I want to say that DeBrat was on his season. Like the cast for his season was just so fucking good. It was just so funny. Like hearing Warren G talk to Screech from Saved by the Bell about losing weight. That's hilarious to me. He was on that show. I didn't know. I to be honest with you, I thought I was taking a wild guess and kind of making it up. Is he really in jail still? Really?
He was. I don't know for sure that he is now.
And you say it's because he pulled a knife on someone?
I think. I could be misremembering that, but I'm pretty sure.
Looking him up.
Okay. Speaking of that, well, not really speaking of that, but you mentioned stand-up comedy, and I was just listening to the Rizzuto show the other day, and they were talking, it was a rewind deal, and they went back to their interview with Bert Kreischer.
Yeah.
Have you heard his story about how he met Will Smith and all that? Like how Will Smith is a huge part of him having the career he has right now?
Yeah, is it the story about how he thought Will Smith wanted to fuck him? Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah, I've heard it.
If that story is fake, then he did a pretty impressive job with how he did the setup.
Well, I mean, look, if he's had to tell that story 5,000 times because that's the genesis of his career, I'm sure he's gotten pretty good at telling it. You know,
considering he is a stand-up comedian, and that's what they do for a living, is they tell jokes, and then every time they pick at it and try to change it to make it funnier here or different here or whatever. So if he's told that story a million times, then maybe he has added or exaggerated different things. Who knows?
That was going to be my point. It's like, I guarantee you could go back to the archives and listen to one and then listen to one, say like 2 years later, and you're going to find things that are different. And you're going to find holes in it, but whatever. Who cares? It is a funny story. I mean, it's a funny story. You know, you hear it once, I think you've heard it enough. I don't think you need to hear it more than once. In May 2015, Dustin Diamond was convicted of 2 misdemeanors, carrying a concealed weapon and disorderly conduct. That June, a judge sentenced the actor to 4 months in prison. He was released on parole after serving 3 months, but he violated the agreement in June 2016 after he was caught using oxycodone. Jesus. But yeah, he did get into a bar fight in Ozaukee County, Wisconsin, and he had a switchblade on him. Homeboy's having a rough go. Huh?
Who would have known that Screech would end up later in his life needing to carry a switchblade around?
You know, one of the things that people give me shit about as being a super fan of that show, and I'll be honest with you, I kind of agree with them, but why were the most popular kids in school friends with this dork?
That's a valid question.
And I think about it. I try to come up with different reasons why every time someone asks me. And yes, it's been more than once, which is pretty sad about my life, but that's fine. I try to come up with different reasons why. And I to be honest with you, I fall short every time. I can't come up with anything that convincing. I feel like if I do, though, I should rewrite the show and pitch it to a network and make some money, you know?
I'm pretty sure the show has been rewritten with most of the same cast, and apparently has that already been out?
The newest?
Or are we still waiting on it? Yeah.
No, it's out.
It is. Have you watched it? Is this shitting on your childhood again?
It might be. Yeah.
Are you going to give it a chance to see?
So my sister told me that she watched, because she also loves Saved by the Bell, because again, we grew up on it, but she watched 2 episodes and she said it was a rough watch. So I don't think I will. I tried watching so they did like a follow-up, like The New Class, and Screech was on it. He was like an advisor or something. He was the only one and I couldn't watch that. Like I was like, this is not Saved by the Bell. Can't watch it. I'm done. Um, but yeah,
My wife's a pretty big fan of Saved by the Bell as well. I wouldn't say super fan like you, but she's a pretty big fan.
I mean,
I can't like it was a little before, maybe like a couple of years before my time, I guess, like when it was big. So I didn't get into it as much as most did,
yeah.
but I don't know, it was just not my thing. Although there are many other shows out there that were my thing that you would probably call ridiculous.
Boy Meets World,
Yes, sir.
one of the worst shows ever made.
I've been binge watching it over the past couple of days, by the way.
The biggest pussies in the history of television,
Whatever.
Juan and Corey.
You were probably a Wonder Years guy.
No, I didn't get into that show either.
No?
Well, actually, you know what? I didn't get into it, and maybe it's because my parents watched it. So maybe I associated it with grown-ups watch this, and it's not for me. Even though
I gotcha.
it was for me. But that's a little bit before my time even still. Like when Wonder Years was like a hit, I was still very young.
Gotcha.
And I think by then it had passed me by. Like once I was kind of old enough to kind of get into it.
Gotcha. I only mentioned that
because stuff from my childhood though, man. Trust me. I mean,
I only mentioned that because of the brothers, because of the Savage brothers.
now why is that? I'm confused. Have I talked about the Savage Brothers before or what?
No, I said I only mentioned Wonder Years because of the Savage brothers.
Oh.
Because I was talking about Boy Meets World. So I tied in Wonder Years with that because of the brothers.
I met the Boy Meets World dude at a club in LA. He was
Really?
Yeah, swear to God, he was partying with Craig Robinson for whatever reason. Don't really know why.
I can't see him as a partier.
Which one?
Corey.
What's his real name?
Oh, don't make
Something
me.
Savage. Ben Savage.
Ben Savage. Yeah, we just said that.
Called him his character name. Yeah, I saw Corey. I actually nudged hey, yeah, that's Corey. So anyway, he knew a friend of the group that I was with. So we ended up in the same sort of general area, whatever. He was actually really cool. Like he came up to us and started talking to us, was just kind of being cordial and just sort of, but yeah,
we should have him on the show.
Yeah. I'm going to be like, hey, remember that time in 2000, I don't know, 12? Hey, you met me for 10 minutes.
That's a good starting point.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, he was partying with Craig Robinson, and they were both like dancing with they had like 3 or 4 girls around the both of them, and they were dancing to that "Wake Me Up Before You Go Go" song, that Wham song.
Okay.
Legitimately dancing, like getting down, but goofily to that song because that song's goofy. Dancing like George Michaels would have in the video. So they were both nice guys, like fun dudes. Craig Robinson was kind of more distant from our group, but Ben Savage was a nice guy. That was a weird.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, that was a weird night. The only reason that I remember this too, because the only reason we ended up at that club is because we were actually trying to go to a show, and the show was at capacity, and they wouldn't let us in. And we had gone online and purchased tickets to it, and they were like fairly expensive because it wasn't like a pageant type place. I mean, this was just like a basement sort of like dive that a rapper was playing at. And they're like, no, we're at capacity. I'm like, well, they're like, you should have got here earlier. And like all of us were like, you gotta be kidding me. Like it got to the point where like a few of the people we were with were getting loud with the bouncers, and they're like, we're gonna call the police if you don't fucking leave. We're not letting you in. I was like, guys, let's just go. Like, it's not even worth it.
Who was the rapper you were trying to see?
Do you know who T Mills is?
No.
I've been told that I look like him. So I'll send you a funny picture when we're done of a side by side of the two of us. I don't look like him now. Like if you saw him now and you look at me now, you probably wouldn't see it. But when I was younger, so here's the thing. He had a song about Vans, the shoes.
Okay.
It got popular. Probably around 2012 when we were trying to see him. But the video, I was at a bar with a bunch of friends. and they had the video up on, you know how bars play music videos. So they had the video up on the giant screen there at the bar. And one of my good buddies goes, bro, look up at the TV right now. Who the fuck is that? And I look up and I just see a bunch of chicks shaking their ass or whatever. And I'm like, who? What are you talking about? He's like, wait. And he goes, look. And I look up and I go, I don't know who that is. He goes, did you start a rap career and didn't tell any of us or what? And I was like, I don't think that looks like me. And so then like the conversation started like, no, bro, that looks exactly. So, at the time we had like the same hair. I still had giant gauges in my ears. So did he. We looked similar. We were both white guys. How about that? White guys with big noses and tattoos and piercings. Yeah. I'll send you a funny picture. But that's who we were trying to see. And it wasn't because like we were like fans. We just thought it would be funny. Like we were being ironic by going to see him, I think, more than anything else. Which looking back on that now, I'm kind of ashamed of that. But what can you do? It probably would have been fun. I mean, it would have been a good time. But that's how we ended up at that place and met Ben Savage. I don't know.
That's a heck of a story to meet Corey Matthews.
See, I tried not to tell it that way because again, I'm not.
I just still can't see him partying.
Yeah, he was fun, man. He was cool. Hey everybody, I want to take a quick minute to talk about one of our partners, TrueNutrition.com, where you can go for all of your supplement and protein powder needs. True Nutrition focuses on quality and not excessive marketing. They care about what's on the inside of the package and not over-branding. So you can go out to TrueNutrition.com, search for all of your supplement protein powder needs. When you go to checkout, enter in promo code CEPN for 5% off of your order. Remember, TrueNutrition.com is focused on quality and not excessive marketing campaigns. So again, for 5% off of your order at TrueNutrition.com, type in promo code CEPN. All right, world, we are back, and we do have our very special guest for this episode 49 of Raised on the Radio. The newest member, our newest signee to the UFC, undefeated, rising star, Natan Levy. Sir, thank you for joining. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I'm sure that hasn't gotten old yet, hearing one of the newest fighters to sign with the UFC. That's still probably a sweet taste, right?
That's all right, yeah.
Not so bad, right? So tell us about your story, because we've been following you for quite some time now. I especially on my personal page, and then we've been following you on our page. But following your journey, I mean, you got a very interesting journey that I think people need to know about. I mean, you yourself have kind of said in previous interviews that you feel like you got a late start to not only mixed martial arts, but just martial arts in general. You know, getting started with karate and then transitioning to MMA full time. But I think you have an interesting journey that I think appeals to many people, because you said it was kind of like getting in trouble as a teenager and getting in fights as a teenager is what led you to really start taking martial arts seriously. What was that like for you growing up?
Yeah, it really changed my life, training karate. Like you said, most people would start training, age 5, 7, 9, 10, especially if you want to go somewhere with it as an athlete. But I started at 15 because I was getting in a lot of trouble, and I was really just training for myself. It's never too late to start. You can start karate when you're 50 years old. It can only do you good. But of course, with certain limitations. But like I said, if you want to be a successful or high level and not just do it for your own wellness, there's usually an earlier age to start. And I was training for myself. I wasn't looking to be like a karate champion or anything like that. I just wanted to become stronger, be a better person. At some point, I got that thought in me that I do want to compete and do want to become the best at what I do. I was watching a lot of MMA back then, and that's what I wanted to do. So I kind of at the late age again, at 22, I left everything knowing only karate and flew to Vegas. Started my journey. That was 7 years ago. Had to fly back and forth from Israel to the US because I didn't have a proper visa. And just, find my way around. I didn't know anybody. But 7 years later, we're here, and I signed with the UFC.
7 years later, and you not only did you sign with the UFC, but won a contract with the UFC on 1 week's notice, right?
Yeah, 2 days
That's insane.
notice.
2 days notice. So I gave you more time than you needed. So you needed 2 days to prepare and get ready. And we've both watched that fight. I mean, talk about that fight. What's that process like? I mean, you're not prepared to go into the Contender Series and go and fight and try to win a contract. Now all of a sudden your mindset changes and you have only 2 days to think about that. I mean, were you able to game plan for your opponent, or you just said, you know what, I'm going to go in there, fight the best of my abilities? And not only did you do that, I mean, you ended up getting the finish and impressing everyone. So what was the mindset for you leading up to that? Were you nervous, or were you like, nope, this is my dream, I'm ready to go?
Yeah, I think I was prepared because, chaos is a ladder, and COVID had a bunch of chaos. I knew the whole year was crazy. People were pulling out of fights. A lot of fighters took very short notice fights this year, and I knew I could be one of them. I knew that could be my shot in. So I was ready the whole year. I was training hard when everybody was sitting at home and, eating Doritos all day. I was out in the park training, running, lifting, drilling with friends, with teammates. So I really think I was ready. And for the game plan, yeah, you're right. I didn't have time to game plan or to really train for that specific opponent. I just came out and I was like, I'm just going to do my best. I'm not going to give him an inch. And that's what I did.
Yeah. Congrats again on that. That was a great fight and great performance. I do, before you ask your question, I do want to thank you, Natan, because at the beginning of quarantine, I got really lazy with my workouts because I couldn't go to the gym. And I saw you posted on Instagram like a leg day you did in a park. You were doing jump squats and all this good stuff. And I was like, that's a great idea. Why don't I just I got a park walking distance from my house. So that day I actually went to the park and did a similar workout, like similar to the one that you did. So I want to thank you for that. Anyway.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear.
I just wanted to know, so you said you came to Vegas not really knowing anybody. What was your connections? Like, how did you get into a gym when you got here and things like that?
Yeah, I kind of showed up, booked a hotel for the first few days, and kind of I thought I was going to go to a certain gym and do whatnot. And then a friend of a friend of a friend just said, hey, I know somebody in Vegas. Maybe you meet with him. Maybe he can help you. I said, sure, that'd be awesome. I met with that guy and he introduced me to his friend. It's a long chain.
Right.
His friend is Jimmy Giff. And that's my coach till this day. And we met 7 years ago and I had no clue like how good of a coach he is. I just thought, hey, he's an American coach. Let me meet him, right? We started working on the heavy bag. He told me, we met, he was like kind of like doing me a little bit of a test, kind of, is he going to train me or not? And he told me, get into your fight stance. And I stood like really sideways, karate stance. And he told me, okay, work the heavy bag. So here in Vegas, you got 50 people on the mat and you got 50 heavy bags and you can do full rounds on the heavy bag and it's no problem. In Israel, everything is smaller and you have 20 people training and you got one heavy bag in the room. So we would do a line in front of the heavy bag and everybody would go like 20 seconds as hard as possible. And then next, because everybody's got to get work. So he told me, go ahead, start working. And I thought it was going to be for 20 seconds. So I throw a million spinning wheel kicks, tornado kicks, everything I know, everything I have at the heavy bag. And a minute later, I notice he's not telling me to stop. And there's 4 minutes left on the clock. And now I got to survive the rest of the round. And we did some more like pad work and he showed me some stuff. After the heavy bag was done, I was like puking in the trash. And he told me he's gonna give me a shot and train me. And we're together till this day. And only like after we've met and, I kind of fell in love with the man and saw he had a huge heart and he took me in. Only then I discovered he trained some world champions in MMA and boxing.
So who are some of those world champions he's trained?
Frank Mir,
Yeah.
heavyweight world champion twice.
Yeah.
Forrest Griffin, light heavyweight champion in the UFC as well. Misha Tate, women's bantamweight champion, beat Holly Holm for the title. And other than that, not like his fighters, but he trained McGregor, TJ Dillashaw, all of Team Alpha Male. He used to train them. So he's worked with a lot of great fighters.
So no pressure on you at all.
Yeah.
No pressure at all to perform well. So talk about that karate a little bit, because we thought it was funny that you had to basically cancel an Instagram account because you had all of your karate videos up there and you had videos of your kicks, and it was hard for you to get MMA opponents starting out because they saw those kicks and they wanted nothing to do with them. Talk about that a little bit. What was the evolution of that?
Yeah, when you're an amateur and you 0-0, you have no fights. That's usually kind of what they try and match you up against. Somebody who has no fights against the same, or maybe somebody who has one fight, 2 fights tops, right? Those people like you, they want to get in there and win. And when they see and they're not like veteran fighters, they're kind of scared. They don't know what they're getting into. And when they see when they saw like my Instagram that I had like 15,000 followers or something like that, black belt and the kick videos and all that, I think they just preferred to fight somebody else who's like less experienced. And it's true, not everybody starts amateur MMA after 7-8 years of karate training in Japan, training all day, every day. Most of the people who start an amateur MMA career have been training MMA for a couple of years. So I was like above that level, I think, and people didn't want to fight me. So it was very hard for me to get a fight until I finally closed my Instagram account, and then I started getting fights.
That's crazy.
Funny how that works. Good old social media.
Yeah.
Opening doors everywhere.
Right.
So you mentioned Japan and karate. So you moved to Japan when you were what, 16 to pursue karate?
No, I didn't move.
Oh, you didn't move.
I spent like 4 months there.
Okay, So what was the mindset behind that? Because kind of like with MMA, you just said, I'm just going to go do it.
Yeah.
Is
Like
that
if I want to be the best, that's where I need to go and
Gotcha.
train.
Gotcha. Did you pick up on any Japanese there? I saw you can speak 3 languages. Can you speak any Japanese?
A little bit.
A little bit. Okay.
Just a tiny bit.
Not
Enough to get to the train
not enough to name
station.
it as your 4th language?
Nah, not yet.
Okay.
So you have 6 fights professionally right now, right? All through the LFA, correct?
Last one, True Contender.
Okay. And then that's over like what kind of time span?
3 years.
3 years. So is that about like how in the UFC, what are you looking for? Like how many fights are you looking for preferably per year?
Oh, I'd definitely be more active. Getting fights wasn't easy at the pro level either. And especially like I was supposed to fight my last fight before for 2018 was like June. And then I didn't fight until August. No, sorry, my bad. Of 2019, I fought in June. And then I didn't fight until August of 2020. So I didn't fight in over a month and a year and 2 months.
So was that
just because of fights falling through and COVID and all that? So like I'd rather be more active. I'd like to fight 3-4 times a year in the UFC.
There you go. I that seems to be what people kind of are trying to do now, and it seems to be what the template is for the UFC now, or they're trying to get to that. They want fighters who are willing to fight, a lot more throughout the year than just your once a year kind of guys.
Yeah, I think it makes you better too as a fighter. I think, especially for me who kind of started late. I'm 29, I signed with the UFC. It's kind of an average, I think. I think most people sign with the UFC around that age, but some sign when they're 19, 20, 21. So they got way more time to work and build themselves. I'm kind of, I think, about to peak physically. And fighting is not a young man's sport only because of experience, and knowledge is such a big part of it. And the longer you train, the more years you have on the mats, the better you are. Of course, at some point, being fast and strong starts to overtake if it's too big of a gap. But what I'm really trying to say is I have a few years in me to give it all. And if I fight once a year for the next 4, 5, 6 years, I'm not really going to get anywhere.
So
Right.
you fought at featherweight. Your fight to get into the UFC was at a catchweight, and then you, of all things, said, you know what? I think 155 is where I need to be at. So now you're going to be entering arguably the toughest division in the UFC. And you've already said that your goal right now is to get a number next to your name. So, I mean, Colt and I joke about this all the time. Every time we watch a pay-per-view, every time we watch an event, every time a fighter's interviewed after they fight, the question gets asked, hey, who are you thinking you got next? Call somebody out. So, I mean, you've already said you want a number. You're entering in one of the toughest divisions. Who do you got your eye on?
Yeah, I want a number, but I'm not like I'll just fight anybody they put in front of me, and I don't think I'll get a number after one fight in the UFC. Like, it doesn't work
Right.
that way.
Right.
It's just that's my goal for the year and a half from now. I'm not gonna call anybody out in the top 5 and chase clout, you know.
That's why we joke about it. You get guys on there, they win one fight. I'm not going to call anyone out, but you get guys that have won one fight, they automatically go, I want a top 10 guy, or like you just said, a top 5 guy. I feel like part of the pressure behind that is Paul Felder or Daniel Cormier asking you the question. You feel like you gotta live up to something when those guys ask.
No, you listen. You get a mic for 2 minutes
Yeah.
once every year, 6 months, whatever. Use it.
Yeah.
It's true. Like, it's good to call somebody out, but if you have a reason, don't be fucking first fight in the UFC and you call out Connor, or you're not getting it, so go home.
I'm glad you mentioned that. So I'm gonna have to just ask it. I want to know. We're talking to a real fighter right now, so I have to ask it. You mentioned Connor. How do you feel about YouTube stars being put in the same conversation as real fighters like yourself, getting on social media, getting in front of a camera, and calling out guys like Connor or Dylan Dennis? Obviously, you probably know who I'm talking about. We've already talked about him enough on the show. But how do you feel about that? Do you feel it's well-deserved? Do you feel like they should even be in the conversation? I mean, how do you feel?
I feel like the people who are really like the Paul brothers, I have nothing against them. If their people are stupid enough to want to watch them fight, good for you. Like, anybody who does well, I'm happy for them. So
Sure.
Yeah, I really think, like, every time I see an article, I want to comment, like, why are we talking about this? But I know I'm going to add a comment and add engagement to that post. So I would like people to kind of ignore it and let it die. But if they really want to watch it, go ahead, pay and watch it. I'm not paying.
Yeah. we the last 3 shows we've done, we've kind of been saying the same thing. Is like, they're going about the business the right way. They know how to promote themselves, obviously.
Yeah.
They know how to get people talking. But again, why are we talking about it? Why are we mentioning them in the same conversation? But
True. I did laugh when they threw like toilet paper on Dylan Dennis. Anybody else, I'd be mad, but on him, it was funny.
Is there a backstory there?
He's a troll.
Okay.
Like, I don't really think he believes the stuff he says on Twitter, or I don't really think he's an asshole. At least, not as big as he is online. But you're a troll, and then a super troll comes and outsmarts you, out trolls you. So that was funny.
yeah, we had our own theories about that whole situation, but we won't get into it. I mean, it again, good publicity, gets people talking, keeps the names out there. I read that you were inspired by martial arts movies, specifically Bruce Lee movies and the Rocky movies. Is this true?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's more than that, but it's a big part of it, just growing up as a kid and always seeing fights and always wanting to fight.
I got to know, because you're talking to a guy who has the Rocky box set and 2 Bruce Lee box sets. So, favorite Bruce Lee movie, favorite Rocky, go.
Rocky 4.
That's my man.
And Bruce Lee. To be honest, I haven't seen them in a while. I really liked the Big Boss when I was a kid,
Yeah.
and when they're on the island, Enter the Dragon.
Enter the Dragon. Yeah.
Yeah,
Two good ones. Okay. All right. I'll buy it. I'm with you. Rocky 4. Funny story. When I was a kid, that was like my favorite movie to watch. I would take off my shirt and do the training montage with him when I was a little kid. My parents would look in the living room like, this kid's out of his mind.
You should try it now. You should do that now.
Nah, nobody wants to see that. Trust me. It's all good.
So let's get into, how about UFC 257 prediction?
who's fighting? Connor.
Connor and Poirier 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got the co-main event. We got the Mofo, Jojo, and Jessica Eye, right?
Yes.
Well, Jojo's winning the co-main event for sure. And I think I love Poirier, but I just think Connor is gonna snipe him.
Really? You got a round prediction on that?
First, second, tops.
Okay. Yeah, I think it seems like, I mean, obviously we're still a few weeks out, but it seems like that's a lot of what I'm seeing out of fighters, analysts, everybody talking, that people seem to think that Connor's going to get him within the first few rounds. But I think it's going to be an interesting fight. I think it'll be much different than the first fight, but who knows? Is JoJo still fighting at Syndicate or training at Syndicate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got to stick with your teammate there. Good call. Good call.
I know. I know what you can do.
Yeah. She's tough for sure.
Well, we brought up that prediction because it's the 155 class.
Yeah.
And so just out of curiosity, if we're talking you having a number beside your name, let's look at big picture. And I know you said like you've got a couple of years in you where you can give it your all, but say like right now, big picture, how do you stack up against top 5 in 155 division?
Like, I think I could be a good training partner for them. I think I could give them
Okay.
good work in the gym. I don't think I have the credentials to step in there with them in the cage. I think I need to work my way there before I can open my mouth.
Gotcha. So you think like your upbringing of karate, you think that it helps you a lot, just like a Wonder Boy or something like that? Like it's unique. You have different ways of doing different things to, outmatch opponents.
Yeah, I think it's unique. I think it's like a different range, different timing from a lot of other combat sports that people use in MMA. I learned boxing, I learned Muay Thai. I'm not like, oh, I'm coming to represent karate against all these other styles. I'm coming to represent myself, and I use karate as well. And not only physically as a fighting style, but as a way of thinking, as a way of life. But I learned all the other things, and most people don't learn karate as well as one of those disciplines they use. So I think that's my edge.
Not to mention, I mean, you're finishing your fights with your jiu-jitsu. We haven't even
Yeah.
talked about that yet. You're such a threat on your feet with your karate. You're also winning fights with your jiu-jitsu. I mean, how long have you been training jiu-jitsu?
7 years since I got here.
Okay.
And I didn't know anything on the ground, but I started training twice a day jiu-jitsu on top of MMA training and boxing training and all the things I had to learn here. So I would train 4 or 5 times a day and always make sure at least 2 of them are Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And I think that helped me a lot.
Nice.
I mean, 7 years, I mean, it seems like a long time, but it's really not that long when you think about jiu-jitsu, right?
It's not that long. It's about, like you said, it feels like eternity, but at the end of the day, people who train 15, 20 years, they show you there's different levels to this. Also, the first 4 years I was doing jiu-jitsu, I was still living in Israel. So I would only train it when I was in Vegas 3, 4, 5 months a year. But now that I've been living in Vegas for 4 years and I found a good coach of jiu-jitsu in Israel as well, no matter where I am, I'm training.
With being from Israel, you're the third fighter. You're the only fighter in the UFC currently from Israel. You're the third in its history. So, I mean, how important is something like national pride going to play into your career in the UFC? I mean, we've seen with other fighters like, Jose Aldo in Brazil. I mean, he's a hero there. I mean, when Conor, emerged into the UFC, he had the Irish. I mean, basically the whole country of Ireland, it seemed like, was on his side. So, I mean, how important is that going to be for you? Growing up in Israel, being from France, how important is that going to be for you moving forward?
It's very important. It gives me strength to know I have a lot of people behind me that I'm representing my people. Yeah, I'm very proud to be the only one. I hope I'm not the only one. I hope I won't stay the only one for too long. I hope more will join me. Some are on their way. But yeah, right now being the number one fighter from Israel, that's pretty big. Me as a fighter, I always wanted to be good. I didn't want to be good for an Israeli guy. I didn't want to be like good compared to something. No, I just want to be good. And I think signing with the UFC proves that. And I'm hoping to start winning some fights there soon and, proving myself and my country.
I mean, you've been gunning for the UFC since the beginning, right? Like with when you got into LFA, the UFC was the number one thing you wanted, and you were like offered a Bellator fight, correct? And you turned it down because you were gunning for the UFC instead.
Yeah, correct. I don't like. I think that organization. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want anything to do with it.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you just think they're not up to par with the UFC? The best fighters aren't in the Bellator, or what's the reasoning behind that?
Look, when I fought in LFA, which is an awesome promotion, you could say, probably most people would say Bellator is a higher level organization, right?
Okay.
But I really think like for growing talent, LFA is way better. And for fights that are evenly matched, LFA is way better. And for not, throwing tomato cans in there with to pad records and stuff like that, LFA is way better. So much rather fight for LFA, even if they don't have the same name recognition. I like to fight in a clean place. I don't want any shenanigans going on around, and people might think I could be part of it, or something could be wrong with my fights. So I'd rather not.
That makes sense.
Gotcha. So one last question, Natan, and we'll let you go. Again, thank you for joining us. I mean, you said hopefully you'll be fighting soon. Is there anything in the works? Any contracts been thrown out there? Any opponents been named? Like, what do you got going on?
Not yet, but I think I'll get a word soon, since it's January and I'm supposed to fight beginning of 2021. And by supposed, I mean, that's what I feel like the UFC is aiming for. So I'm pretty sure I'll get a date soon.
Well, hopefully
Awesome.
that happens for you, man. We're both pulling for you, not just because you came on the show. I mean, we've been following you. We wish you nothing but the best, and hopefully a successful run. And we can't wait to watch you fight and talk about it afterwards. That's like I said, MMA is a giant part of the conversation on our show. Like, we're both big fans, so we appreciate you coming on today, man. So good luck to you.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for having me.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Have a good one.
See you guys.
See ya.
And we are back from our interview with Natan Levy. And so what's your overall thoughts here?
The guy's an ass kicker. Nothing but business out of that guy, man. I mean,
That's true.
Obviously things could change once he wins a fight. And, that was a great answer he gave, though. And I was like, look, when you got a guy like Paul Felder or Daniel Cormier asking you to call somebody out, he goes, look, you're on a microphone maybe twice in 1 year. You got to make the most out of your time. So it was almost like he was kind of like answering the question twice. Like, yeah, I'm not going to call anybody out, but if I could put it in the situation, I might say, fuck it and do it,
Right.
It's
Yeah.
almost like I got to be in the situation to know whether I'm going to do it or not. So, yeah, man, he's an interesting guy. For someone who got such a late start, even though he says that, like, I get it. Like, the record says it definitely. I mean, he's only had 6 fights, but I mean, he's been fighting for a long time. He's well-rounded. Like, he's gotten good at more than just one aspect of the game.
Mm-hmm.
6 fights, 6
And
wins.
it almost
submissions.
speaks volumes to him too, because it's, as he said, he's not been doing it for as long as a lot of these fighters have. A lot of these fighters start at 4 and 5 years old, so it speaks volumes to him for where he's at and how he's been winning these fights for just the amount of time that he's been doing it.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. So I don't know, man. We'll have to, like you said, it doesn't have a fight booked yet. Hopefully we see him soon. Like I said, before we started the show, I was following him on Instagram. I mean, he's an active dude and he trains hard. Like, when he's doesn't have a fight, I mean, all he does is post training videos. I mean, the guy works hard. So inspiring story, man. We'll see.
I was just thinking about that too. He said he deleted that account, that Instagram account that had 10,000 followers on it. That was before he had a fight.
Yeah.
Like, he was an amateur still, and he had 10,000 followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, look, when you're able to do what he can do with the kicks, and people love seeing that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, when he throws up some of those kicks he's able to do in slow motion, I mean, it's almost like, not to sound corny as fuck right now, but I'm going to, it's a work of art.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, that's athletic ability beyond my imagination. I mean, so it's, I'm interested. I'm anxious and, anticipating seeing him fight in the UFC and on the big stage, like you said, on the biggest stage. He considers Bellator to be, all things considered, a joke. So I was surprised to hear that. So
yeah.
What do we know?
Well,
We're not fighters.
I think a lot of that, without him actually saying it, I think a lot of that has to do with the testing and stuff like that, which is probably what he considers a joke.
Yeah, it's a good point.
And I get it. I mean, if that's how you feel, there's, you don't want to be involved in that or be involved by association. So,
yeah. So, I mean, good for him.
Yep, for sure.
All right, man. Our first show of 2021. And our next one.
Went off pretty well.
We got to do something special for number 50. Are you going to dress up or what?
I was hoping you were going to take your shirt off and do like some montage or something.
I'll do a Rocky montage for number 50. We do have a guest coming on for number 50, so I need to run that by him, though. I don't know if so.
That's true.
All right, let's get out of here. I got Browns football to watch. I think they're still winning.
Uh-oh. I'm hoping so, actually. I have them today, so.
Oh, good for you. Did you pick them to win?
I did.
Jesus. It's 10-6 Browns at halftime.
There we go. I like it.
All right.
All right. We're out.
Yeah.